What happens when a controversial prince meets America's most unapologetic talk show host, and the conversation careens completely off the rails? Tonight, we're breaking down the televised collision that left millions talking. The night Prince Harry faced Bill Maher's unflinching questions and walked straight into one of the most uncomfortable moments in recent TV history. The studio lights burned hot over Maher's desk as he leaned back, a knowing smirk on his face. Across from him, Harry adjusted his jacket, the movement betraying just a flicker of nerves. The audience hummed with anticipation, because with a guest like this, anything could happen. "So, Harry," Maher began, his voice equal parts curiosity and mischief, "you've gone from the palace to a Montecito mansion. How's that working out for you?" Harry straightened ready. "It's been liberating, Bill. For the first time in my life, I can make my own choices without asking permission from an institution centuries old." Maher nodded slowly, pouncing. "Interesting. Most would say you traded one institution for another. You no longer answer to the Queen. Now it's Netflix executives and Spotify producers. How's that any different?" A few laughs rippled through the crowd. Harry's jaw tightened. There's a difference between choosing partnerships and having your entire life dictated by outdated protocol. Maher's smile didn't fade. "You grew up with unimaginable privilege, the best education, world travel, a platform billions would envy. Then you come to America and complain about how hard your life was. Don't you think that sounds a little tone-deaf?" Harry's voice cooled. "You're oversimplifying. Yes, I had privilege. I also had no privacy, no autonomy. I watched my mother destroyed by the system that was supposed to protect her." Maher leaned in, his tone sharpening. "Princess Diana worked within that system. She used her position to spotlight causes, landmines, AIDS, the voiceless. Why couldn't you do the same?" Harry gripped his chair. "Because that system killed her, Bill. The harassment, the paparazzi, I wasn't going to let that happen to my wife and kids." Maher didn't let go. "You wanted privacy, yet you sat for an Oprah special seen by millions. Wrote a tell-all, signed a Netflix docuseries. That's not privacy. That's controlling the narrative. Sometimes you have to tell your story before someone else twists it," Harry said firmly. "Or," Maher shot back, "you want to cash in on the drama. The royal family could have cut you off. Instead, you're still using your titles, still trading on that royal connection. You can't have it both ways." The studio went still. Harry's voice rose. "I'm not trading on anything. I'm exposing a broken system that needs to change." Maher made air quotes. "Your truth drives me crazy." "There's not your truth and my truth. There's just truth. And the truth is, you've made millions telling the world how awful your privileged life was, while people here are working 3 jobs just to survive. Can you see why that's a hard sell?" Harry's cheeks flushed. "I care deeply about people who are struggling. I've dedicated my life to veterans, mental health work." "And that's great." Maher cut in. "But you've also spent a lot of time talking about your pain. For a hefty paycheck, there's a difference between advocacy and self-promotion." "I'm not self-promoting," Harry snapped. "I'm trying to break generational cycles of trauma." Maher's laugh was low, sharp, and far from friendly. "Break cycles of trauma. Huh." The pause that followed was heavy enough to crush the air in the room. Maher didn't miss a beat. "Harry, you're a prince. You've got more resources to tackle trauma than 99% of the planet. You can afford the best therapists, the best treatment, the best everything. Most people dealing with trauma don't get that luxury. Money doesn't solve everything, Bill." "No," Maher replied, his voice cool and surgical. "But it sure makes it easier. And here's what really gets me. You talk about breaking cycles, but what you've done is build a new one. You've turned family dysfunction into a business model. How is that breaking anything?" The air in the studio froze. Even the cameras seemed to hesitate. Harry leaned forward, voice tight. You have no idea what you're talking about. You've never lived under that kind of scrutiny, that kind of relentless pressure. You've never had every move dissected from the moment you were born. You're right, Maher said evenly. I've never had that experience. But I've also never had a trust fund, palaces to live in, or the ability to shake hands with world leaders whenever I wanted. Everyone has problems, Harry. Not everyone has your advantages to solve them. The tension was now thick enough to taste. Harry's face had gone from flushed to visibly angry. Maher seemed to savor it. Look, Bill, Harry said, forcing composure. I know you make a living being provocative. But what you're doing right now, this constant need to tear people down, that's exactly why I left that life behind. Maher raised an eyebrow. Oh, so now I'm the problem. Not the guy who broadcast his family's dirty laundry to millions. I'm just asking questions people want answered. If you can't handle basic scrutiny, maybe you shouldn't be doing interviews. Basic scrutiny. Harry's voice cracked. You're attacking my mother's memory. You're questioning my motives. You're dismissing real issues like mental health and institutional racism. Whoa. Maher held up his hands. When did I attack your mother? I said she was beloved and effective. And institutional racism. We weren't even talking about that. It's all connected, Bill. Harry fired back. The way the media treated Meghan. The way the institution failed to protect her. The way people like you minimize our experiences because they don't fit your narrative. Maher leaned back, genuinely surprised. People like me. What's that supposed to mean? People who benefit from systems of privilege while mocking others for speaking out against them. You make jokes about systemic issues because taking them seriously would mean confronting your own position in it. My position. Maher's tone sharpened. Harry, I've been calling out institutions my whole career. The church, government, media, corporate America. The difference is, I don't expect millions for doing it. And I don't claim to be a victim while I'm at it. I've never claimed to be a victim. Really. Because that's all I've heard for years. The royals were cruel. The media was unfair. The institution was racist. When do you start taking responsibility for your own choices instead of blaming everyone else? Harry shot up from his chair, his composure gone. Take responsibility. I leave in by protecting my family, by speaking out against a system that's broken. No, Maher said, rising too. You took the easy way out. You could have stayed and fought from the inside. You could have used your position to make real change. Instead, you're complaining from California. Easy way out. Harry's voice was now almost a shout. Do you have any idea how hard it was to walk away from everything I'd ever known? My military titles, my patronages, my family. Oh, please. Maher waved him off. You gave up royal duties and got a $100 million Netflix deal. That's not sacrifice. That's a career change. The audience shifted uneasily. This wasn't banter anymore. It was open combat. You know what your real problem is, Bill. Harry pointed directly at him. You can't stand that someone had the guts to walk away from a corrupt system instead of just making jokes about it. Maher laughed sharply. Corrupt system. Harry, you're talking about your family, your grandparents, your father, your brother. Are you actually calling them corrupt? I'm calling the institution corrupt. Harry shot back, not the people. But Maher's eyes narrowed. The people are the institution, Harry. You can't separate them. And here's what I don't get. If the system is so corrupt, why are you still using the titles? Why are you still Prince Harry and Duchess Meghan? If you wanted a clean break, wouldn't you drop them altogether? Harry's mouth opened, then closed, as if the words kept slipping away. It's complicated. Maher didn't blink. No, it's not. You want the perks and the prestige without the responsibilities. You want to be royal when it benefits you, and a regular guy when it doesn't. That's not true, isn't it? When you're signing contracts with Netflix and Spotify, you're the Duke of Sussex. But when people criticize you, you're just Harry, trying to live a normal life. Which is it? Harry pushed back from his chair, pacing now, agitation rising. You're twisting everything I say. I'm not twisting a thing. I'm pointing out the contradictions. You say you want privacy, but you give tell all interviews. You say you want to help, but your speaking fees are out of reach for most charities. You say you left for your family's safety, but then you spill their most intimate details in a memoir. I shared those details to give context for why we left. Or, Maher countered, because Random House gave you 20 million reasons to share them. Let's not pretend this is pure altruism. You've built a brand around being the royal who got out, and that brand is worth a fortune. Harry froze mid-stride, staring at Maher with a fury that was barely contained. You have no idea what it's like to live under constant scrutiny, to have every choice questioned, to have strangers decide your motives without knowing anything about you. I do know, Maher said, almost gently. I've been in the public eye for decades. The difference is, I chose it. You were born into it. But as an adult, you also chose to stay in it. Just in a different way. You can't have it both ways. I didn't choose to be born into the royal family. No, but you chose to monetize it. And you did it while claiming you just want to be left alone. Do you see why people find that hypocritical? Harry's fists curled at his sides. I'm done with this conversation. Oh, now you want to leave? Maher's tone was pure acid. That's your move, isn't it? When it gets uncomfortable. Walk away. I'm not walking away from anything important. You walked away from your military career, from your UK charity work, from your brother, from your role in the Commonwealth. At what point do you stop running and start dealing with your problems like an adult? The words hit like a slap. Harry went rigid, face flushed deep crimson. The audience gasped, sensing the point of no return had been crossed. Dealing with my problems like an adult. Harry's voice shook with rage. Bill, I served 2 tours in Afghanistan while you sat here making jokes. I've worked with wounded veterans. I've launched mental health initiatives. I've tried to make a difference in the world. What have you done besides criticize from behind a desk? Maher's eyes lit up, the thrill of combat. I've called out hypocrisy wherever I see it, including yours. And right now, I see a man who can't handle being challenged without throwing a tantrum. This isn't a tantrum. This is me standing up to a bully who thinks a TV show gives him the right to say whatever he wants. A bully. Maher's laugh was cold. I'm asking basic questions about your own statements. If that feels like bullying, maybe the problem isn't me. The Harry stepped closer to the desk, voice low and dangerous. The real problem is people like you, who've never had to make the kind of choices I've made, sitting in judgment as if you have all the answers. Choices. Maher shot back. You mean deciding whether to take the Netflix money or the Spotify money? The room went dead silent. Even the cameras seemed to hesitate. You know what, Bill, Harry said, jaw tight. I came here thinking we could have an honest conversation about real issues. But all you want is to score cheap laughs at my expense. No, Harry. You came here expecting softball questions. The exchange began as a heated but civil debate, until Bill Maher accused Prince Harry of using his public platform to push a personal narrative without facing real scrutiny. That's not how this works, Maher said. When you step into the public eye, you don't get to control the conversation. I'm not trying to control anything, Harry replied, voice tight. I'm trying to have a respectful dialogue. Maher leaned in. Respectful. You've called me a bully and claimed I've done nothing for society. How's that respectful? Harry's composure broke. Because you haven't. All you do is tear people down with cynical jokes about serious issues. You're part of the problem, not the solution. I've spent 30 years fighting corruption and hypocrisy. Maher shot back, his face flushed. I don't get paid millions for it, and I don't whine when people disagree with me. I'm not whining, Harry said. I'm defending myself from unfair attacks. Unfair? Maher pressed. Everything I've said is based on your own words and actions. If pointing out contradictions feels like an attack, maybe you should ask why your story has so many contradictions. Harry's voice cracked with emotion. Because life is complicated, Bill. Sometimes you make impossible choices between bad options. Sometimes protecting your family means disappointing others. And sometimes, Maher interrupted, making millions means telling people what they want to hear instead of what they need to hear. Which one are you doing right now? That was the breaking point. Harry jabbed a finger toward Maher. I'm done. This isn't an interview. It's a hit job designed to humiliate me. Maher, dripping with sarcasm, replied, a hit job. Because I asked you to explain your choices. If you can't handle basic questions, maybe you shouldn't give interviews at all. Maybe you're right, Harry said, suddenly quieter but still seething. Maybe I shouldn't waste time on people who've already made up their minds. I haven't, Maher said. I'm trying to understand how someone with your advantages ends up feeling so sorry for himself. Harry's face went pale, then red again. You think this is self-pity? It's accountability. It's calling out a system that protects itself. And making a fortune while you do it, Maher said coldly. Harry stared at him for a long moment before delivering his final words. You're not a truth teller, Bill. You're just another entertainer profiting off other people's pain. Maher shot back. At least I'm honest about what I am. I don't pretend to be a humanitarian while cashing streaming checks. Harry turned toward the stage exit. And I don't pretend to be a journalist while running character assassinations for applause. Maher called after him. Where are you going? We're not finished here. Les, we are, Harry said, his voice cutting through the stunned silence. This interview is over, along with any respect I had for you or your show. Watch me, he added, before walking off set. The audience sat frozen. Maher stood alone, visibly rattled, before finally muttering, well, I guess that's one way to end an interview. The confrontation, raw and personal, will be remembered as one of the most intense clashes over privilege, responsibility, and public accountability in recent television history.